Hey guys, always Tiger checking in. I want to discuss the British High Street. We've got an article here discussing how Labour is wrecking the High Street. That's a big fat no. Tories were in charge for 14 years and they've helped the High Street on its deathbed. Anyway, it's a challenging time and I'm unsure whether the High Street has a place in society in its current form. It is lacking in terms of service offerings, and overall they can't really compete with the juggernauts of the digital online retailers. So it's bleak, it's dark, and there hasn't really been any support. And I think perhaps the government have understood that, and perhaps they are ushering in a new use for the high street, whether that's pedestrianisation, bringing in families and children into the mix. But they are definitely awaiting on the sidelines, it seems. And that could be very much the sign that they are understanding that there needs to be a reinvigoration of the high street and a reduction in its current use, because that's the only reason I could think of. In all honesty, if they wish to have continued businesses such as Turkish barbers, off licenses, chicken shops, kebab shops, and betting shops and charity shops, okay, you're winning the race in that. But clearly, there is a objective to keep the high street in its current instance, at least for the short term. For the long term, whether they want to change that into housing complexes or housing pedestrianised areas, yes, of course. If there are no businesses there, you don't have to force them out. It's a lot easier to get your representative, your council representative, to usher in and green light new development. So I do feel that it's a grey area in terms of what is happening. It is almost as if there is a loose timeline or schedule with the amount of stores that are closing, and it could be once a particular target is met per council or per region, there is then a business case to allow for a rejuvenation or a vanity project to really kickstart and bring the area to the 2025 and onwards spectrum. So I could definitely see that as a backdrop to as to why they are allowing the high street to slowly but surely work its way to non-existence. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I do feel, for me personally as an individual, that the high street is lacking to entice me. As a young man, 35 years old, the high street is very rigid in its offering. So, of course, I would like to look at gadgets. Yes, I like music, I like fitness. These are just my personal interests, but for the high street, it doesn't really offer me anything, or it doesn't meet my criteria. So therefore, I wouldn't need to go to the high street. And I feel that perhaps other individuals have felt the same, that the high street is no longer meeting their goals and criteria. So instead of spending their time after work, or whether that's on the weekend, no, I'd rather spend that doing something that completely meets my goals for those days, or my personal achievements, or my personal goal for the weekend. So no, we won't be going to the high street. So it's a tough one. I would like to see definitely a reduction in the Turkish barbers and those off licenses that are open all hours. That will be a topic in another video, but it's not the best. It's great to see people milling around, socializing. That's wonderful, and that's something that we all need to keep a community fabric together. Absolutely. But the offerings themselves, the service offerings of the businesses, perhaps they are not meeting the needs of the individuals. And that could be the defining factor. And that perhaps is where the government has pulled back its need to support these businesses, because they've understood that maybe these businesses are not viable in the long term. There are only so many coffee shops, barbers, um, little, let's say, £1, £2 trinket shops or anything like that before we say no, we can't really support these businesses purely because they are not meeting the needs of the area. And it's tough, but if that is the case, that is a valid reason for the government not stepping in with a reduction. So it's a tough one.